relation to, as you said, the technical side there, the last piece that you did when you submit your application, after you submit your application, to verify, to your signature and stuff like that, you need to go into your email and you'll get an email from the system to say you have to click on that verification, otherwise your application isn't verified. So you might get an email back from us saying, when we check when the scheme closes, some people haven't verified it. So it's very important just to completely finish out the application by going into your email address that you've logged onto the system in and verify your signature.
Great, thanks, Kathy. And again, I suppose just to clarify as well, that us here in the Arts Office, we don't get to see any of that side of it. It's Kathy is on the actual application side of it. It goes to her. But obviously, if you have questions and we can answer them, we will. But more often than not, it's to Kathy that we will be directing you on the technical side. So thanks for that, Kathy. Great, excellent. So was there anybody else with a question on the actual making of the application? No. Great. All right. So I know there's a couple in the couple of questions in the chat, and I'm just going to okay. Sarah, can you detail what kind of organ is appropriate under events and projects? So Sarah, that one might be answered as I'm going through some of the other questions, because I'll be giving examples. And Susan, is this grant call suitable for the creation of a documentary of local history and launching of the documentary as an event? So to be very clear about this grant is being made available through the assistance under the Arts Act grant scheme. And in that scheme, in the legislation, the arts are a very specific definition. And we have to abide by that definition. So things like documentaries, filmmaking, books, all of those can come under, as long as they are dealing with the arts and only the arts. So local history, biographies, things that might have sort of a general community interest are not eligible through the assistance under the Arts Act grant scheme. If you were making a documentary about an artist or an arts project, that would be considered. But in terms of sort of local history, local events, unless they are specifically arts related events, no, they wouldn't be considered under this scheme. So I hope that answers that, Susan. I suspect it's not the answer that you wanted, so apologies. So in the uploaded quotation segment, would I need written quotations from artists, musicians I would hope to include in my proposed series of events? You only need written quotations if their fees are going to be more than €500. So if they're going to be less than €500, it's fine just to write maybe the artist's name and an estimate of what those fees are. But if you know that those fees are going to be more than €500, yes, you would just need ideally to give us a quotation saying that this is what you estimate that the cost would be. Research and development of a body of work. So I might come back to that one, Christina, because it links in with one that we've already received as well. So great, yeah. So one quotation or three, just one quotation is all that's required. If you have three, obviously the better, Ronan, in terms of the work that you're doing, because you'll see how competitive they are. But one quotation is fine. If you're happy with that quotation, we'll take it on the basis that you're happy to submit this as part of your proposal and that you're happy to pay that amount if you are successful. The other thing that I should say in relation to the grant scheme as well is that the maximum grant is €1,000. So it's important that people, I think, are realistic as well. We have a budget of €30,000 for the arts grant scheme. The maximum grant is 1,000. We can get anything up to close on 100 applications. Now, not all applications are going to be successful, but it is a competitive process. So obviously, the tighter your proposal is, the more feasible it is, that this can happen, both in terms of timescales and in terms of the finances. I just bear you to keep that in mind. Can we purchase materials from a supplier who's not a registered supplier? I presume you mean not a registered supplier with Clare County Council, Gerard. The grant is made payable to you. Who you pay after that is up to you. It's up to you to, to look after. We don't, and this is something I know that Kathy has come across as well. When we give you the grant is to you, and it's up to you to pay all your suppliers. But you will need to let us know who they are through receipts, invoices, etc. But the payment of the grant is made to you. We will not pay your suppliers directly. And it goes back to at the very start when I was saying about applying as an individual artist and as a group, if it is or an organization. So the grant would be paid. It would go into the bank account of the individual artist or the organization. But it is up to you to pay your suppliers. We won't won't pay them directly for you. Great. So is that kind of on the technical side? Okay, so we might get into some more of the general questions. So one of the questions that came up is, can we use the funding for classes? So I think there's kind of a little bit of sort of, semantics around classes. This came from an organization that was looking to run art classes or group arts activities with older people. So absolutely is the answer to that. What it can't be used to do is that if you are an organization or a group looking to charge for classes, to run classes and to be charging participants X amount to attend them, it can't be used in that instance. But by all means, certainly to bring an artist in to work with a specific group or to work with a specific community, that's absolutely fine, as long as the cost doesn't fall back on the community per se, in terms of it being anyway commercial, in that there's any charge allocated for it. So that was one of the questions that we had. Sorry, had someone a question there, or did someone want to come in there? No, okay, that's fine. The next one was again coming from sort of organizations, and again, it might be relevant. So can grants be used for overheads like insurance, rent, materials, to replace old equipment, or an old stage, or curtains in a hall, etc.? So what I would say to you is, if you are an arts organization, or an arts group, we use the term organization loosely. So again, a choral society, or maybe a choir or a drama group, day-to-day general expenditure, yes, the grant can be used for that through the organizational support, projects, events, and organizational support. That would cover that. If it is the case that you're looking to replace equipment or facilities, yes, the grant can be used towards that. But I suppose the caveat would be that the amount of funding that we would have available is probably not going to cover, in many instances, the scale of repairs or replacement of equipment that may be needed. So again, it's on a feasibility level we'd ask you to consider, in terms of making the application around that. But by all means, if you have some funding from local community group, or and you're looking for just to get you over the line as such, that would be absolutely fine. There'd be no issue around that. But we couldn't undertake to replace a whole stage or replace lighting bars. The grant isn't intended for those types of capital works as such. In terms of projects and events, Sarah, it's, how long is a piece of string? Everybody's going to have a different project or a different event or a different idea. So we've done everything from festivals and events, concerts, exhibitions, art trails, community workshops, community programs and projects that might be durational in length, running over a period of time. They may be projects that might identify specific members of the community that people want to work with, be it young people, older people, new communities. So it's, if you have something and you're not sure about it, by all means get in touch with us. We'd be happy to talk you through it. But generally we try to be as open as possible, and I suppose we'd like to see ourselves as enablers rather than than putting, you know, people off as such. But if you're not sure before you go to the effort of putting a full proposal together, by all means get in touch, and we'd be happy to go through that with you. A couple of questions then, and Christine, I think this is going back to your one as well. In terms of artist support, I'm just going to look at the wording that you've used. Sorry, now Christine, I'm trying to find your one again. Research and development for a body of work, how an artist might describe ambitions for work that is being made without actually having. That's absolutely fine. We fully understand the artistic process. We fully understand that artists need time, they need support to develop ideas, to create ideas. So there is no issue at all with artists making a submission that I would like funding to do research, or I would like funding effectively to buy your time or to pay for your time. So there's no issue whatsoever with that if you can't allocate a, you know, a specific thing in terms of, you know, I want to purchase materials, or I want to attend a professional development course in whatever. If it is a case that you just need time and space to work on your work, by all means, you know, submit that. That's we fully understand that that's the way that artists work, and we don't have an issue at all with paying you for your time and working on the development of those ideas. So that's absolutely fine. There was another question around funding for travel for research, in terms of going abroad for funding to see other exhibitions, etc. And yes, it would be considered, but I suppose we would need, and when I say we, I mean the adjudication panel, would need to be satisfied that this research or the travel is relatively essential for the development of your work, or you know, very specific to a body of work that you're working on. So it can be considered, but we would ask you to maybe think, you know, just how important it would be in the scheme of things, and in terms of the budgets that are available to us as well. So that would be the other one that's there. So if you bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to go back, because I'm just want to see if I can make sure I haven't missed any questions, to be honest. No. Okay. Upload any written quotations or musician talk about research and development. Quotation of 3, that's 5. Can you apply for funding for 2 separate projects? Unfortunately, due to the demands that are on the scheme, we can only accept 1 application per person or per organization. Now, that's not to say that an organization couldn't apply under one of the other schemes for a different project. So just to be clear on that. But in terms of the arts grant scheme, and to be fair to everybody, we can only support 1 project or 1 application per person or per organization. If there's an admission fee, how does this affect the grant events? No, so an admission fee for an event, Ellie, would be different than charging for courses for a class. So just to clarify, we would see an admission fee for an event as being box office income, and it is absolutely fine to put that against the cost of your proposal. So just keeping it very simple, if you're paying somebody €2,000 to perform, and you're looking for €1,000 from the council to support the performance, you know, you might be charging, you know, 100 people €10 to make up the other 1,000 to cover the cost, and that's absolutely fine. And we actually do, you know, look where possible to see that people are trying to find other means to deliver the work, because it does increase your score then in terms of feasibility of the projects. When will we know if our group has qualified? Kathy, I might pass this one back to you. It'll probably be March time, is that correct?
Yeah, so this grant has to go before the full council, so we're hoping to have it before the full council on the 11th of March. So I would hope to have letters of offer out that week.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Kathy. Dennis had asked a question: have received funding previously in the scheme count against you if a similar project is proposed? No, absolutely not, Dennis. And particularly if that project has been successful and you're building on that success, I would absolutely do that in your proposal. You know, if it is either in a different location or another phase of the project, that's absolutely fine. You know, we love to see things that become sustainable or expand in terms of their ambition as well. So that's absolutely fine. No problem with that. Um, so, Kathy, I might pass this one back to you again from Sarah. She's at the conclusion of the project. So you'd have a better idea as to ideally when we like projects to be finished in terms of claiming the grants at the end of the year.
Yes, so this will be outlined in your letter of offer. So anybody that is successful will receive a letter of offer, and we'll lay out any criteria that the adjudicators from the art side will have on the letter. So there could be conditions on your letter of offer, and also we'll ask that you'll complete the completion report of your project. We might ask for photographs or copies of your work, and we'll also ask for receipts for your work. We can't pay out in invoices, so we have to have receipts. That's just very important. And our dates for this year is completion of the project. We're hoping to have them just for the 5th of September. And then you'll have about a week then to get your week or two to get your information into us.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Kathy.
But all that will be stated in your letter of offer.
Yeah. I just flipped over Karen's question here. Time out or research or development, how would that fit into the criteria for the arts plan scheme? That falls under artist support, Karen. No issue at all around that in terms of supporting artists. We fully appreciate the need for artists to have that time and space to create their work. So it's one of the key priorities of the arts plan. So there's no issue at all around research and development time. Can you talk about how an artist quantifies their time? The maximum, will you accept that an artist might use the grant might use the grant to spend a few months of their time? They may not be adhering to the artist payment amounts at the Arts Council. Yeah, we would see if somebody is looking for that just kind of general support in terms of time. It can be obviously hard to quantify. So there's two ways of doing it. Number one, you might just look for a stipend, a bursary. To phrase it like that, to assist you with your time to develop your work. Some people put in a daily rate that I want to work for 5 days a week, 5 days at €200 a day, which comes to €1,000. But it's up to you how you want to phrase that, or what way you manage your own time and your own costs on time as well. So that again is up to you. But just to say that in terms of the Arts Council encourages, the Arts Council, they have very specific rates of pay for work delivered, but it's not so specific when it comes to actual research and development time, or this is your time and the value that you place on your work. So really it's up to yourself as to how you want to phrase that, or how you want to think about it, or propose it to us. But as I say, we are open to considering things that are that we feel are genuine. In terms of that would offer you significant support to address whatever issues you may have in your practice. If your proposals for artist development, you won't have receipts to submit. So basically what you can do is you can submit an invoice for yourself, so that you are going to invoice Clare County Council for the grant. That's the way that we have worked it previously. So Emer, in your case, you would just submit an invoice as part of your paperwork to Kathy, with an invoice for "I wish to claim the grant." Obviously, we will on our side know what artists will be receiving that type of support. So it's actually probably more straightforward than looking for invoices and receipts, etc., for some of the others. If seeking funding for an event, must the event take place in County Clare? Yes, is the short answer. We can only support artists who are living and working in the county, and we can only support events that are taking place in the county. If your event is taking place outside of the county, you should approach the local authority arts office in that county to see if they can assist. That would be the general kind of rule of thumb across arts offices throughout local authorities. And I think that's it. Quite happy to take a question if anybody has one. I've talked to you all out of So look, I think one might have just got in here, just skipped by me here, so just bear with me. I'm just going up through the where funding is successful. Is it paid in September? It is paid as soon as you can submit the receipts to Kathy. Aideen. So yeah, that's a good question actually. So if you do something in March or April and it finishes in March or April, you can submit your funding as soon as possible. And actually it suits Kathy to get the submissions in as early as possible in the year, because as you can imagine, at the end of the year, the arts grants here, they're one of 11 categories that Kathy is dealing with. So the more that she can get done and out of the way and processed early in the year, the better.
It'll be a quicker turnaround.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be much quicker in terms of getting things approved and getting them on the payment runs. Yeah. Great. So look, I hope you found it useful. I think that's everything. It's our first time doing this, so apologies if we may not have looked like we knew what was happening, but if there are any questions you have, or even after this, if you go away and go, oh, I should have thought of, or there's something else maybe that crosses your mind, by all means, you can get back in touch with us here at arts@clarecoco.ie. If we can't assist you, we might be sending you to Kathy or elsewhere, you know, depending on how specific your query is. But or Kathy, do you want to?
Yeah, and our email address is CLAGS, CLAGS @clarecoco.ie. That goes to the whole team here. So if I'm not getting back to you, somebody else will get back to you. Just one thing to iterate, that I know I'm the person, I have to make sure that it's all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Just to make sure that when you are submitting, that your receipts are made out to your group or to the individual, that they're on headed paper, that it's all very official. That's really important for for the whole auditing side of the grants.
Yeah. It's and both the auditing side and also the processing of the grants, because if they don't come in, it means that Kathy is going back and chasing you to get correct invoices and receipts, etc. And that just slows everything down in terms of the payments, etc. So just to keep it in mind. And also that the grant, as I said earlier, it's really important as well, is made payable to the applicant. That is the person or the group that applies. So that is effectively their bank account. That's who that goes to. So it's just important to keep that in mind as well. Great. Okay. So thanks very much for joining us. I hope you found it useful. As I say, come back to us if there's any questions, and best of luck with it. Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.